Hello and welcome to Sporting Jibberish. I'm Stuart Booth.
And I'm Jack Luffman.
My fingers almost disappeared then. People have been well freaked out by that. Just for you guys wondering why we were separated again, it was a bad breakup. I give him the car. I kept the house. No,
he gave me the headset.
It's Jack's. Yeah. Well, people will be wondering if I actually got a headset on today because you couldn't see it anywhere last week.
Yeah, exactly.
No, unfortunately, Jack is isolating. It's his turn to sit in a room with no friends and four walls.
Yeah, it's tough, eh? Yeah, I'm isolated, unfortunately. It's close contact because the wife has got the COVID, so to speak. Actually not been very well, to be fair. But I hopefully, fingers crossed, we're on the upturn. But yeah, oh my goodness. It's mind-numbing, Stuart.
It couldn't happen at a worse time really for you, is it? Because you've got some big thing happening in a couple of weeks, I believe.
Yeah, that... what, you mean half-term?
Yeah, that's what I was on about. Nothing to do with your birthday, but
just half-term. Just half-term, yeah. Yeah, the big birthday's coming up.
Yeah, so let's hope for these out for that. And we may be able to share an apple juice or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to today's show. We're going to be talking football as per usual. Interesting week with the Arabian Gulf League, and because we're actually recording this on Thursday morning, some games played last night. There's actually a shock result we need to talk about. We'll have a look at the transfers with the deadline news. Jack's Corner, as he keeps putting in Sporting Jibberish talking point, we may come across one. Well, we're also waking up this morning to see the news of the Chelsea Spurs game. So I'm assuming that Jose will appear at some point on the show.
I don't think we've got long enough, to be fair.
No, I'd like to talk a little bit about my friend Mike Dean. World-class strikers is also going to be a talking point today. We're going to be talking about the Abu Dhabi T10 along with potentially cricket coming back to the Olympics, but we'll cover that more. Fantasy football was the first round this week of the Cup. So first leg results are in. But we're going to start with exciting news, Jack. Barichello is finally running today.
Yes, today, this afternoon in England at Catterick. So finally he's going to get a run out. And fingers crossed the weather's okay in England or at Catterick. Even if it's just Catterick where the weather's good enough to go. But yeah, we've been waiting. I've got my bookie back in England, all placed. So it's actually favourite, Stu. He's favourite.
Yes, so I heard. The report was to say to go for, if you can get odds of 2-1, would be great, a good price. But unfortunately, it's a bit shorter than that. So if you're hearing this and it's still early doors, lump absolutely nothing on anything me and Jack advise.
Yeah, we do not listen to us, other than the fact that the report from McCain is very good. They're impressed with him in at the yards or on the track. So fingers crossed that A, he runs, and B, that Stuart could be our first. Could be our first win as owners. So fingers crossed for that
fingers
one.
Crossed, yeah, definitely.
Go well, Barichello. He's got Hughes on board again. So the champion jockey obviously fancies him, to be fair. So
yeah, well, fingers crossed on that. But with you being isolated, before you got isolated, did you manage to get a game in last week, Jack?
Yeah.
You did, because I remember now. It's all coming back to me. So what was it? You needed to score 110 to get your average up to 40. Is that correct, Jack?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. That's right, yeah.
And how did you get on?
Yeah, I didn't get 110. But I did okay, to be fair. 38. Got us off to a good start with Jay, the new opener. I think we put 60 odd on in 4 overs, I think. So, good start. Feeling much better to where I need to be in terms of form and hitting the ball nicely. 1 or 2 good shots. Bad shot to get out. Just missed one. Just simply missed one. But yeah, it was much better from my point of view. And also the team won again. So that's really good against Emirates MBD, the side sponsored by the local bank or the National Bank of Dubai, which we lost to in the previous season or before Christmas there. So that was really, really pleasing. Good performance from particularly with the lads with the ball. I think we had them something like 13 for 3, which always stems the run flow, and they managed to get to 150 odds, I think, something like that, and we cruised it really. Could we have got it inside 20 overs to get the bonus point? I don't know. I think you're trying to put yourselves at a bit of risk early in the season, so we just went for the win and we cruised it really, which is good. And then a big game this Saturday, Middle East Metals, who are obviously always the team to beat, them and Wombats Black. We beat them before Christmas. They were a good side, lots of, dare I say it, pros or semi-pros, whatever you want to call it, Stu. They're a really good side, but obviously, unfortunately, the Exiles will have to do without me. It's probably a good thing. I don't know. But yeah, I'll be watching the scorecard on my phone. I think will be the only way I'll be able to watch it. But yeah, so good luck, the Exiles.
That sounds. I was going to say that sounds just exciting as watching a game of cricket, watching a scorecard.
I just watch it, even yeah. I mean, it's like watching CFAX. Remember watching CFAX or Teletext back in the day?
Yeah, no, Jack, I'm not old enough to know about that.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh no, Morse code was it? Morse code with us. Yeah, no. So that's my weekend of sport this week. It'll be watching as much sport as I can on the telly and watching my phone go round as the Exiles take on Middle East Metals. But we're in a decent position. I think we're second in the ladder. It's early days, obviously, but yeah, hopefully the boys can bring home the win at the weekend. But let's stop talking about me because you've had a decent week, haven't you? Let's be honest, you've had a decent week. 3 games.
No, 2. There was a game last week, so we knew the game against the Irish.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I played on Sunday. I helped the Vets social team out. They asked me to come and help them out. They were playing City FC, which is a feeder club for one of the second division clubs in the UAE Gulf League. Their under-18s team played in the social league. It puzzles me. So we've got a group of 45-year-old guys and 40-plus-year-old guys, a little bit heavy, playing against an under-18s team. And it was quite an interesting match. They had, to be fair, there was 1 or 2 good players on their team, 1 or 2 mouthy 17-year-olds. And I was a little bit shocked, I knew I was a bit mouthy when I was a kid, but it was usually with the lads the same age as me. I wouldn't, hunt out a big lad on the other pitch and start giving it big un. But yeah, they had a few like that. But yeah, it finished 5-5 in the end. So good result, I'd say, for us. Better result for us than them. Just managed to sneak in 4 goals. That was it.
4 goals. I thought it was 3.
No, 4 against the young boys, and then it was 4. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 4 against. Yeah, it was 4 goals.
And tell the listeners what they said to you, regards, and what you said when he did get the equaliser in the last minute, and his retort was in relation to. Anyway, you tell the story.
Right. So I think I just scored a really good goal. I think it was one where I take a touch, I lift it over the defender, and I whiz it into the top corner. And
that's on video as well. That's on the video, by the way, isn't it? Bang it on. We'll bang it on.
Oh, yeah, we'll stick the goal on. And anyway, they go and score. And I think at that point we're winning 4-2. And the centre forward, who's not had a sniff all game, has come running past me and he's shouting, "We're not losing to these fat beep 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 beep. These guys live in McDonald's." I'm like, and I just turn around. And the video footage is really funny because I just turn around and look at the right midfield and I'm like, what is this kid about? Anyway, lo and behold, the game carries on. I could see us slowly losing it, and they're creeping back in. Anyway, they go 5-4 up, and there's literally 2 minutes left. Straight from the centre, we got the other end, and I equalise. So all our team are screaming because this young lad's been giving it the big one about McDonald's. So they ran past shouting, "Where's my Big Mac?" Which he was not best pleased with that. And then he started calling me not very nice names, saying I wasn't very good. So I did ask him how many he'd scored, and he hadn't scored any. I was like, "I'm not very good, and I've scored 4. And he's like, "You're still not very good." And I'm like, "Not quite sure where you get your logic from, buddy, but hello." But to be fair, the parents of their team started shouting at him to show up because just no need, and probably a bit embarrassing the fact that you're drawing with a group of 40-year-olds and you're potentially going into the Arabian Gulf League second division. So
yeah, good way. And then
but their best player. I was just going to say their best player was. Feet were absolutely magnificent, right foot, left foot, but just a very nice lad as well, no arrogance about him, no shouting, no getting involved, just went about his business. But yeah, I doff my hat to him. Rest of them, do one.
Very good. And then obviously Wednesday night's your big, or the main league, and well.
Yeah, it's really strange. I felt a bit of pressure going into this Wednesday one. I got there, and the player that we played against last week for the Irish team comes over. He goes, "Oh, well, if you're scoring 3 against us, you're going to get a bag full against these lot, aren't you?" I was like, not really thought about it, to be honest. And then all our team was there. So our other team was there and our team was there, and all stood around there going, "Oh, Stu's going to get loads tonight." And I started thinking, "My God, I've got to score." Everybody's like telling me I need to score. And then the guy from another pitch is going, "Oh, we would have won that game if we'd had you. We need a striker." And then I started getting a bit in my own head. But yeah, thankfully, and what probably made it worse was my first shot. I blazed high and wide, and it was awful. I'd gone to try and fade into the far corner to strike across it, not judged how quick the ball ran across me, and gone sliced it big time. It looked like one of my golf shots. And then I was really started getting in my own head about worrying about scoring. But thankfully, I managed to score a hat-trick in first half and then one more after half time. So, yeah, another 4 goals. So I think in the last 3, 11 goals.
Oh, what a
going
week.
Well at the moment.
Yeah, going well. You've nearly scored as many goals as I've scored runs, so there we go.
Yeah, that is. How many runs have you scored? Oh, if you'd only counted your first 2 games, I'd be ahead of you, wouldn't I?
Yeah, 48. I've scored in 3 at the minute. Yeah. But hey ho, long season.
Yeah, but yes, it is. But good result. I think it finished 9-2. So yeah, really comfortable in the end. So yeah, I think at the moment our first and second team currently sit first and second in the league. So that's good news for All Stars. So yeah, but unfortunately, we got the news yesterday that adult football, along with junior football, is going to be suspended for the next few weeks. So it doesn't look like we're going to play now till March.
I did. I wondered about that. I'd heard a whisper, and I've not had anything through from Dubai Sports Council, the cricket or DCC in my role as director of cricket. But I'd heard a whisper that sport was going, because obviously in Dubai, obviously we've had sort of more cases and more restrictions on things like restaurants and brunches have gone over until the end of till the end of February, so March. So that unfortunately doesn't surprise me. I suspect cricket might be next, maybe. I don't know. I mean, to be fair,
we're done now, yeah.
To be fair, we've got a game this Saturday, but then we haven't. We've got a 2-week gap in our schedule, so we're not due to play after this Saturday until the last weekend of Feb. So if they go on the same premise as and we would only probably lose one and have to fit one fixture in, which should be better than nothing. But obviously it's disappointing, but I suppose safety and things have got to be the priority for everybody around the world still, isn't it, unfortunately?
Oh, definitely. But right, let's move on to your Abu Dhabi T10.
Yeah. So lots of probably cricket people back home. I've been following this a little bit because I think it is being aired on Sky Sports for the first time. But obviously the Abu Dhabi T10 is going on in Abu Dhabi at the Sheikh Zayed Stadium. 3rd year or 4th year. It was in Sharjah. My first year here, it was in Sharjah. I actually went to watch it, and then I actually went 2019 competition to Abu Dhabi. So it's T10. It's effectively just like T20, but half the overs, half the power play, etc. But there's no fancy stuff to it in terms of like in the Big Bash, the X Factor subs or the Surge or anything like that. I think there's 2 things to talk about. It's very easy to watch. It's going okay in the Abu Dhabi tournament at the minute. It's really good for the UAE players to showcase their talents alongside some of the big names in cricket, in white ball cricket. So, for example, Chris Gale is out here playing for Abu Dhabi, Luke Wright for Abu Dhabi, Khan Pollard for the Mohammed Arabians, or whatever they're called. So there's some real big names there, but also there's some average players playing that are obviously getting a bit of money to come along. So I think to develop it further, they need to somehow get it in so they can attract some more of the better players. But really what I wanted to talk about is the fact that I think there's been a lot of talk, I suppose, since the T20 product took off from England in 2003 and further forward, of cricket being back in the Olympics or back in the Commonwealth Games and things like that. And I think they found the format, Stu. I think if that is a real possibility, and I think it should be, I think it would be good for the Olympics. It's certainly good for the sport. Just as golf reappeared in Rio and things like that, that actually this is the way forward, because it's very short. So a game only sort of takes just under 2 hours. You can have 3 games or even more on one pitch or on one ground in a day. So actually, even in a a country or who's hosting the Olympics where it's not a cricketing hotbed or never played cricket much, or let's say Tokyo this summer, where cricket, well, I'm sure it's been played somewhere, but they wouldn't need to find 5, 6, 7, 8 grounds. They probably only need one, maybe two. And obviously 4 years in the planning, it gives plenty of time for people, experts to get out there to get a ground up to scratch. Like I say, it's an easy watch. It's exciting. Literally, the batsmen go from ball one. I think that almost I stumbled across a format that could actually further increase participation across the world. Don't get me wrong, It's still not the pinnacle of the game, but I think it's one way of getting it into the Olympics.
Yeah, I think looking at that, two things spring to mind. One is for the Olympics, as long as it's a short format, because anything longer than that is wasting too much time, because the Olympics are over such a short period of time. And people are questioning then, is it more exciting watching cricket or the cross-country alpine skiing, which is also a really exciting event to go along and watch. But no, joking aside, I'm just thinking then off the top of my head is, I wonder if, like to enthuse people about the T10, that you could do something like the Rugby Sevens do, and have like an international B squads that go and play in different countries and different venues, playing the T10 format, over weekends, and have that type of competition that gives B squad players an opportunity to showcase their ability, and then also to put it in countries where cricket is not such, like saying, as your words, hotbed, and raise the profile.
Exactly. And I think also that it might give a country, because like you say, like England, for example, they wouldn't fit in, and I think you wouldn't take your top side, etc. So it might give it a lesser country a chance to win a gold medal, for example, and put that cricket on the map. Interesting you say about the Sevens, though, because it's being added to the Dubai Sevens weekend this year in December. So the rugby obviously is going to take place. The netball, as always, has done, and they're adding cricket this year. And I'm actually been invited on, and we'll sit on the working panel, the steering panel, to try and to see what it looks like, basically, and to try and get it off the ground. Now, I don't think it'll have international players like the Rugby Sevens does to begin with, but my idea, which straight away, even before this discussion, was you've got to get T10 on board. It's got to be a T10 format. Maybe tweak it a little bit for the Sevens. I've seen games where you have double scoring zones. So if you hit it straight or to a certain part of the ground, you get 8 for 4 instead of just a normal 4. Things like that, so you can tweak it for the Sevens purposes, for it to be entertaining. So, I think everybody knows you're not the greatest cricket fan, but something like you might then go across with the family while you're waiting for larks to play rugby for half an hour and actually see some all fast action, entertaining cricket. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that we've stumbled across a format that actually could work for a number of different reasons, and I think it would really, really extend our cricketing family. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking you need to get me on that panel. I'm thinking we've got some great ideas, Jack. You've got some dancing ladies, some apple juice. I've got so many things coming to mind. I just can't speak.
I'm thinking that maybe Sport and Jibberish could host it. I don't know, as the commentary team. I don't know.
So I'm going to sit there and watch cricket and commentate on it. Oh my goodness! Somebody shoot me now.
You can have an apple juice or two.
Oh my goodness! I'm going to need a few apple juices.
There's a rumor that Sport and Jibberish will be entering sides in all 3 competitions. Larks have started this.
I thought it was you that started it. I thought it was you with Wigan Weed Larks, but yeah, I've heard this vicious rumour. I don't know how much it's going to cost me. Moving swiftly on to football now. Right, so Arabian Gulf League. Interesting results last week. I'll just run through game week 14 was last week. Ajman 2, Al Dhafra 1, Hatta 1, Al Wada 4. No surprise there. Big result, Al Jazeera 3, Al Nasser 0. And what happened on the back of that, Jack?
I believe, if I'm understanding the translations correctly, I believe they've got rid of the Croatian manager and switched him out and brought in a new technical director, a South American chap, I think, who was at Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia, who won the league last year, which is where Igalo, United.
Yes, Man United has
just gone to. But I think in between times we've been back in South America somewhere. I'm not entirely sure. My translating of Arabic is not the best, as you can probably imagine. But yeah, El Nasser seemed to have certainly changed the manager on the back of that. So big movement, because that's a little bit unusual, I think, out here to do it mid-season anyway.
Yeah, especially when the transfer window was open. Kofrakan 2, Alain 2. Shabab Ali have continued after that Grey Cup win beating Calba 2-0. Benias dropped points and lost to Al Wasl, so that was a big result at the weekend.
Pedro be happy.
And Sharjah just scraped over with a 3-2 win against Fujairah. But this week's games, well, because the games started a little bit earlier here, we actually had 3 games last night. Benias beat Fujairah 2-1, so they're back to winning ways. Al Nasser, with the new coach, got off with a 2-1 win.
Yes.
Al Wada drew 1-1 with Sharjah, so Sharjah creaking a little bit again. So Al Dhafra play Al Jazeera later on today at 5:30, so Al Jazeera can actually close up the gap on there. Al Wasl play Hatta, so that should be another 3 points for them. Kalba versus Ajman, Alain versus Shabab Ali. So that can then, if Shabab win that game, we'll see them jump above Alain in the league standings. So at the moment, Sharjah are currently 6 points clear of Al Jazeera, but Al Jazeera have got a game in hand, so can reduce it to 3 points. Benias are on 29 points, played 15, who've jumped above Al Nasir, who have played 15 and are on 27 points. Alain are only 3 points behind Al Nasir. Al Wada are in the mix with 23. Shabab Al Ali 22 points. Ooh. So if Al Wasl win today, they can kind of just jump on the back of the end of that group. But if they draw, lose, and Shabab win, then there's going to be another gap appearing there. So it seems to be top 2, and then a gap, and then it's anything between like 4 and 6 points between the next set of teams. So it is starting to heat up a little bit nicely. And what we could do would really happen. Maybe Al Jazeera and Sharjah we might go away a little bit now away from everybody else, but the third place could get quite interesting.
I reckon your boys could spring a surprise. They go on a run of winning 10 in a row. It'll put the pressure on everybody else, because they do say they're the best team, aren't they? They do say they're the best team.
I think when you look at the team they've got there, I can't think of the Brazilian kind. These Fernandez, he's one of the best players in the league. So if he's on form, nobody can touch him. So they have that capability of probably a bit like a Liverpool and Man City, where they're capable of going on a 10-game winning streak and nobody would bat an eye about it. But unfortunately, I think too many draws is probably going to cost them in the long run. But maybe Al Jazeera can make it a little bit interesting if they win today and claw that to 3 points with Sharjah. And that can heat up nicely. So, interesting things moving forward. Premier League, not so interesting.
I'm going to say, you mentioned it. Liverpool, Man City there. I'll start us off here. I still think you had a terrible result in the week against Brighton. Again, I mean, 2 great results for Brighton, though. Give Potter his due. But for me, it's still Man City and Liverpool to beat in the top. Big weekend for you. I think you've got to win that now at the weekend, haven't you? You've got to beat Man City. But Man City look a different class again above everybody else, don't they? Make football look so easy.
And surprisingly so, without potentially their best player.
But
it just seems that when Liverpool probably lack a little bit of confidence and know how to break teams down, Man City have got lots of different players that are able to open the door and lock teams and defences and create chances. So you look at Mahrez, he's showing a bit of form, Sterling, a bit of form. Gudjon is getting in beyond a lot now and causing problems. Jesus looks a little bit sharper. So they've just got so much talent. And then you throw into the back of that, Cancelo bombs on. I was dead bizarrely, I was watching the way they set up the other night, Man City. So when the goalkeeper gets the ball, the centre-back split, which is not uncommon thing to happen. And usually like defensive midfielder drops in. But if you watch now, when they split, the full-backs, rather than pushing high and wide, actually push up but then tuck in. So they offer an option inside rather than an option outside. So when the centre-back gets it now, he's got Cancelo inside him on the left, or like Mahrez further outside him on the right. And they're just shifting like what you would consider normal positions around a lot. So Cancelo almost comes into like Rodri's area and becomes like the defensive midfielder. So there's a bizarre option there. And I think what it's doing is midfielders a little bit like going, do I tuck inside and go mark him, or do I try and cut this out ball out here? And it's just a little bit of clever manipulation about players in positions. But I was interested. I was watching that against Burnley, where rather than Cancelo traditionally, like Liverpool do, is
go on.
Robertson and Trent will go wide and stay wide, and there's never any movement from that. And then once they're wide, they just go up and down that line. They're actually saying move into centre midfield and then see what you can pick up there. And then midfielders disperse into different positions, and the wide guys then stay wider, which causes problems because the fullbacks then tuck wide and there's gaps for runners to go into. So interesting watching that, and there's definitely that element to City's game now, which is really stepping up. And again, like I said, is doing it without De Bruyne is a major achievement.
Yeah, I think you're right. Dead right. I think that that what they've got, I think, over the other teams at the moment, is that they've got goals from everywhere. And it looks to me like they've got goals in open play from everywhere. Like you say, Gundogan running past the front man, Mahrez from out wide, Jesus seems to be scoring. We know De Bruyne will score if and when fit. They're scoring from set pieces, like Stone scored 2 the other week. Whereas every other side, particularly our two sides, if you like, are so reliant on 2 or 3 players at the most to get regular. I'm not talking about the odd 1 or 2 to get regular goals, and I think that's probably why, because they're just more fluid than every other side. Liverpool are clearly struggling to break sides down. We've had that discussion before, and are lacking a bit of confidence, even though it looked like they got it back against us last week, or certainly over the weekend. But
it was a strange one, and we go back to that game and then the Brighton game, and I thought we've got high hopes here, and we beat West Ham, and Mo Salah missed a chance after 2 minutes. And then I don't recall us creating another good opportunity after that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. On the back of, I saw the West Ham. I said to you, you were playing, weren't you? And you phoned me and said, "Oh, did you watch that?" I said, "Yeah, you'll love the goals," because I thought they were great, and very much the Liverpool of the Klopp's Liverpool over the last 3 or 4 years, on the break, quick one touch football, but longer passing. Completely different style to Man City, and but there's different ways to skin a cat, and there's different ways to play football, and that's absolutely fine. And it's a bit like, probably linking into my boys and Jose. There were different ways to win football matches, and statistics say what you can read into statistics, what you want to read into statistics, as far as I'm concerned, in any sport. But when it goes badly and you're playing in a bad way, in a bad style, it just exacerbates it. And that, unfortunately, what's happening at Spurs over the last week. The last 3 games have been absolutely woeful to watch. When you think that the last 3 games, our performance against Liverpool was the best of the 3, that says a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say to you is, do you find that when Mourinho goes under pressure or things aren't going his way, he goes anti-football? It's like, we're just going to set up not to lose a game, we'll pick up a few draws and hopefully somebody will pick a goal up from somewhere. It's almost like, I remember Jose when he first came to the Premier League, and he was such a bright, inspirational character. And it's almost like I don't know how many times I've said this, he's stuck in the past, He's never evolved his way to win games. And then what we saw was, when things were going wrong with Man United, he went anti-football, part of the bus, let's not concede goals, and then we'll see if we can nick a goal somewhere. And then did the same with Chelsea on his return. Like no real football player, sit in, defend, see what we can get. And then the same, it's like history's repeating itself with Spurs now, is that your goal threat was potentially with Son and Kane, and now Kane's not there to feed Son. It's like, right, let's just shut up shop and then see if we can get a deflection off somebody's butt cheek or hit somebody's face and goes in. And it just seems like that's when Jose feels a bit of pressure, he reverts this tactic.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I love it. Come on, you set me up, you team me, you've put the tee in the ground, you've put the ball on the tee, haven't you? You're ready for me to go. I think you're right. I think, I was willing to get, you said from day one, when he was a point before we did the podcast, when we were talking, that you think he's stuck in the past, he's not evolved. And I'd agreed with you. I'd said the same thing previously, but I'm willing to give him a go because he's a winner. And there's one thing that Spurs fans and the football club needs, is we've got to win something. We've not won anything since 2008. We've been the nearly men. We needed that a bit more steel, a bit that winning mentality. And forget last season, he got us basically into Europe, which, it was sort of an achievement, I guess. I don't know. And then this season he set up this way of like playing on the counter, if you like, and one, I'm not bothered about possession. And two, when you've got Son and Kane firing like they basically have been all year, then you've always got a chance. And would he get away with how he'd been playing if we got full houses? Probably not. Even in those games against City and Arsenal at home when we won both fixtures. And I can't understand why he wants to play like that, test out their creativity and say, we'll hit you on the break. But when that goes wrong, like it has done, and the Kane injury, obviously, that's two is key to us. But even before that, it was going wrong because in a couple of the games, Fulham at home when we drew, away at Liverpool and we lost, etc. Kane's getting that deep because we're defending that deep, that even when he gets the ball, it's very difficult for him to be effective because we're just so deep. We've got a pitch and a half to go before we're anywhere near a box, and that's just been exacerbated. His tactics are bizarre. His team selection for me is bizarre. His substitutions are bizarre at the moment, and I do think there was rumour that Aurier walked out of the dressing room after the Liverpool game at half-time because he was whipped off. Certainly against Brighton at the weekend and then last night, it looks like us, when we have a staff game and we play the students or another staff game for my right. Tell you what, Beaver, you play middle of midfield because you're the best player. I'll play at centre. Where do you play? I've played a bit at left back. Right, you play at left back. Let's just get a team together and then we'll worry about how we're going to play. And there's just there's no foresight, there's no cohesion in transition. Some of the players aren't good enough, who he rates aren't good enough. And while I don't think we're completely out of the top four race, and while ironically he probably will still win us something, I think I would get rid. I would press the button now and get rid, because you got to think moving forward. And if we win something, it'll just paper over the cracks. Yes, I think there's still going to be some money spent on the squad because they're not good enough. They're nowhere near good enough. However, you're telling me that the squad of Leicester, Villa, who else above us, West Ham, Chelsea are better. It's not. It's not a better squad. They're not a better squad. So I would press the button now and bring in somebody.
I tell you what, it's took weeks, but he's finally done it. He's finally cracked. He's gone.
Lampard, maybe the lad at Brentford who seems to play the football in the right way. I don't know who's out there, and I've got no admit, but I just think press the button. And you're right, Jose's panicking. And you know one other thing? I know Jose's panicking because all of a sudden he's leading the Dele Alli narrative because he knows that Spurs fans want him to play, and he's clinging on. He knows that if he gets Dele back in, I mean, he's injured at the minute, which I did say 2 weeks ago. He's injured at the minute, but he knows if he can get Dele Alli back in the team, he'll get a little bit of breathing space from Spurs fans again.
Would you take Graham Potter?
Tough one. I like the way he plays the football. He reminds me a little bit of Brendan Rodgers when he first came into football. And my only concern is with taking him would be, has he got the mentality to handle some big players at a big club yet? But the flip side of that is, if you don't give somebody a go, you never know, do you? Would he do any worse than what we're doing now? And the answer is no. And I tell you what, because actually, if we lost, like last night against Chelsea, if we'd lost, we might have lost 4-3, 3-2, 3-1, but we would have lost in the right way.
You would have played football to lose.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, I want us to win trophies, and I said that, and that's why you give Jose a chance. But I just think, I agree with you that he's stuck in his ways and he's reverting back to type A. It's not the Jose that came in to Chelsea 17 years ago, because, all right, he already had the foundations there, probably better foundations than what we had, certainly defensively. But they'd play football. Look at Robin and Duff and Drogba and Lampard running from midfield and Ballack. You're not telling me that they all sat and waited to win 1-0. It was just that they were very good defensively because you had Terry and all people like that. He's not got that structure because Alderweireld's past his best. The young lads aren't quite ready yet, I think, at centre half. But for me, Daniel Levy needs to grow a pair and say, thanks, you got us through a tricky time. You'll always be welcomed back. You got us good reviews on the Amazon documentary, but see you later.
Yeah, wow, interesting. Right, well, I think at that point, you've pretty much used all the time up on your ramp time, Premiership. So I'll just quickly run through a few of the other results which stood out. Wolves beating an inform Arsenal, which great result for Wolves, and obviously they were.
He's one I'd have. He was one I'd have. Sorry, he'd one I'd have. Nunes, because I think he needs a new challenge and a new challenge. I'd have him from Wolves.
Right.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's all right. United scraped a 9-0 win against Southampton. Crystal Palace, great result against Newcastle. Newcastle seemed to have turned the last 2 games around and then, as standard, will go and lose. Man City comfortable against Burnley. Fulham against Leicester. Leicester looked back to their best-ish at points, looked quite dangerous on the counter. And Justin scored a really good goal, the young fullback that they got from Luton. Great result for Everton against Leeds. Keeps Leeds in that bottom 10. Matthew Aldred. West Ham, great result against Villa and Brighton. And I watched the game. Well, I'll tell you, I played that night. I came home. I stayed up and watched the first half. And I remember sitting in the first half going, this does not look good for us. And Brighton, probably possession-wise, have probably had the most possession at Anfield in a long, long time in comparison to other teams. And we're starting to pick gaps in Liverpool. And at that point, I went to bed at half-time. I was like, I can't stay up any longer. This is 1 o'clock in the morning. I played an hour of football and I had to get up at 5 o'clock. So I just went and gave up. And I actually woke up I went to bed at 1, kind of in and out of sleep. And then at 1:40, I checked my phone, see what score it was, and 1-0 down. I was like, no, it's a bad dream. And then I woke up thinking, we'd won 2 or 3-1 in my head. I was like, I thought I'd check my phone again, and I checked it, still 1-0. I was like, no. But you know what? He's done a job on us, but Potter seems to be doing the right things and plays the right way, which is good to see. And then, unfortunately, bad result for you guys last night, losing 1-0. So it just means City are now sitting really comfortable in first place. Man United looking comfortable in second at the moment, and then it's a toss-up between 6 teams for that third and fourth spot. But as I mentioned before, for me, second place would be a great achievement considering what's happened.
I think also, just before we finish that bit, I think the results, although Sheffield United have won back-to-back, the bottom 3 have gone. Like I said last week, the bottom 3 now will be the bottom 3. Well, after Brighton's 2 wins, there's 11 points in there, something ridiculous. Fulham have hit another bad spot. Unfortunately, albeit Scotty Parker's play it the right way, trying to play it the right way, we've not got enough players. West Brom are just poor. They didn't buy well enough in the summer. And Sheffield United are rubbish as well. They've gone.
Yeah. So just a few things about transfers on deadline day. There's one actually I completely missed. I didn't realise it happened up until I did some research on it. Josh King's gone to Everton. Did you know that?
I knew that. The other bizarre one.
That's a good move, that for Everton, I think.
Yeah, it's because Calvert-Lewin stopped scoring, hasn't he? Which again.
Well, then he scored. He scored, against Everton. But
it doesn't surprise me.
In 7, I think.
Yeah, but it doesn't surprise me because while he's got potential, I don't think he is all that. So good move and King's been after a move for a while, hasn't he? And of course, Bournemouth have also sacked the manager this week. So.
Yeah, and the other ones that potentially happened, Liverpool were very busy on deadline day, is pushing Minamino to Southampton on loan, which I think is good because it's going to get in game time. But I just find that there's something not quite right with what's going on because he played well against Crystal Palace when we won 7-0 and then has not had a start since. So
I think he's on his way out. He's on his way out, isn't he?
Yeah, maybe he's not, lived up to the hype that everybody thought. Maitland-Niles, who started well at Arsenal, has now been farmed off to West Brom to go and get some game time in.
I rate that move for him. I think that's fair play because he said, hasn't he wants to make the Southgates Euro squad, and he needs to gain time. So it'd be a lot easier for a young lad like that to stay at Arsenal and whinge a little bit or play a little bit Europa League when it comes around again. But A, he's chosen not to do that, and B, chosen, well, he's going to have to play pressure football, albeit with no fans. But, you don't get any more pressure than trying to stay in the Premier League, do you? So fair play to him.
No. And then the other, I'm going to mention these two together, and then there's one more I want to talk about. Liverpool going for Kabak and Ben Davies. A lot of lads from back home have been raving about Ben Davies for a long time. Left-footed centre-back, saying that he's good enough to play Premiership. But I suppose we'll soon find out. But he actually got on the bench for the game the other night. So we'll see how well he progresses and how well he does. And Kabak, which I think is a clever move from Liverpool, 1 million for the loan deal. See how he is, because as a young player who's highly rated and was going to be one of the next best centre-halves coming through, unfortunately he's at Schalke at the moment. We've got the worst defensive league in Germany and currently sit bottom of the league. So they don't always go hand in hand, and Liverpool often do the research. So, like you talk about Wijnaldum, who got relegated with Newcastle and has been one of Liverpool's best midfielders for the last couple of seasons. Talk about Shaqiri, who's also come in and contributed so much to Liverpool, and he got relegated with Stoke. So sometimes there are gems there to be found. So we'll see how successful that is. But I think the big one that has made an instant impact, Jesse Lingard.
Yeah.
Great move for him to get away from United. He wasn't going to sniff. First game, 2 goals. How much more of an impact do you need to make?
I know he's had a bit of criticism, and probably rightly so, over the years with his social media antics and his dancing celebration and stuff like that. And was he the world beater that people were trying to make him out when he had that stellar period for United? And obviously did play the big part in England's 2018 World Cup campaign. But no, he wasn't. But he's a good player, and he always has been a good player because he works hard. And of course, he's not young. He's not as young as people think. He's 28, isn't he? Something like that. So although not old, he needs to be playing football. And again, fair play to him for. I hope that he does well, and either gets a move or gets back in Man United's team, really. But it's just strange that he's obviously been ready to go, and Solskjaer's not even looked at him. Through, I know they're playing well at the minute and get some good results, but even through that, tricky period they had before Christmas or there, well, not even looked at him. Just a bit strange that. But again, a little bit, I suppose, Jose and Dele, and you mentioned Klopp and Minamino. Sometimes you just have these, just don't fit for whatever reason, just don't fit. So yeah, he's had a great start.
Last thing on the football section, Emma Hayes.
Yeah. So I don't know if you picked up on this, but Wimbledon have sacked the manager, and she was linked with it, which I thought was really good because she's really highly rated. If you read about her, things like that. But I thought her comeback in the press conference, which was asked about, was really good. She said that why would it be a step up to manage Wimbledon? Why would it be a step up? I'm at a great club. No money would make me leave. I'm working with world-class players, which I think is really right because obviously she's got to big up the women's game. The only thing I would say is I think actually Simon Jordan said the similar thing on TalkSport in the week, is that yes, it's not necessarily a step up to manage a men's team just for the sake of it, but it's a step up in quality. There's no doubt that men's football, even are they League One, Wimbledon, I think, the standard of football that they're playing will be better than the Women's Premier League. And I just thought it's an interesting thing that actually, how good is it that we're now talking about a female coming into, even being talked about in managing men's football. It's happening in American sport, isn't it? Where albeit not
basketball, isn't it?
Basketball and American football, they've got the top coaching job, but certainly on the top coaching panel. But something like Emma Hayes is going to be in a tricky position because she'll want to back the women's game, and rightly so. But at the same time, surely, despite what she says in a press conference, surely it'd be a tempting move to try and break that barrier and go, look, I am going to be the first full-time professional football man, female professional football man in the men's game in England, and see how many doors that opens, because indirectly that will promote the women's game as well, won't it? So just an interesting narrative that we won't. I don't think we'll hear the end of, because I reckon that she was talked about, and I don't know if this is true. And it was the first when I was reading about this that she was talked about when Lampard took over. That apparently she was talked about in managing Chelsea then. I don't know how true that is, but that would have been a massive jump. But we'll just see. Like I said, I don't think it's a narrative that's going to go away. Maybe she fancies the Spurs job. I don't know.
No, well, I just think for her point of view is I get what she's saying with regards to trying to defend the women's game. What an idiot! She should have took the job. I know the argument is it step up, blah blah blah, because you're talking about Chelsea as a football club is massive, and you're talking about Wimbledon is there's no comparison really. But you've got the chance now to step up and be that breaking person that makes that first bold move that you'll always be talked about. Bad decision on her part, I think. It'd be interesting as well to see how well she does, how well the players respond to it, because football, as much as I love it, the bad side of football is the arrogance. And the arrogance of footballers that sometimes don't want to listen to people because they don't think that they should do, because they don't command the respect, would be interesting. And maybe that's something that she's thought about, and gone, well, I'm really well respected in the women's game, so it keeps me up here. But then the men's game, because I've come from a women's game, does that suddenly mean that my respect level's down there? So
it's definitely interesting. I think I tend to agree with you. I think it would have opened up more doors than she realises for women's football, and she'd always be able to go back to it. But the flip side of it is looking, and I've heard her talk a lot over the years, is she would just need to guard against, and she'll guard against the fact of it not being just a publicity stunt, and getting the job, being the right person for the job, rather than just because Wimbledon are maybe not, they've got a new ground and that the backup player laid and they need a bit more of a boost, and so let's do something a little bit different, and so let's employ a woman. She wouldn't want it on the back of that, like nobody would. You wouldn't want to do it. Let's employ Stu Booth just because he's been from Preston, and you wouldn't want that. You want it for the right reasons. So interesting though, and I tend to agree with you. I think I'd have liked to have seen her have a go anyway.
Yeah. Right, you're going to quickly tell us that Six Nations?
Yeah, just very quickly, that Six Nations starts this weekend, which is really good. Just got the go-ahead finally in the last 48 hours because of some iffiness around COVID and travel and isolation, all that to do with France, but I think they've overcome that. And so they've said that they don't need to, as long as they're negative, the French boys won't need to isolate all the time when they go back. So I think they've got 3 this year, and 3 of their games are away. So I think there were just some stumbling blocks over that, but I think they've all been ironed out as best they can. So yeah, that all starts tomorrow, Saturday, over the weekend. So good. I always like it. I always think that when I was back home in England, it was some live sport at the weekend, and by the time that had finished, it was always the cricket season. And it was a good opportunity to get a few shandies and stuff down your neck on a Saturday afternoon. Brother's obviously a big rugby fan, so often with Tom. So yeah, I do like it. I shall be tuning in from afar, starting tomorrow. But it's just, I think England's to lose. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, well, you can never rule out Ireland. Ireland can be a streaky opponent. Wales can always chuck the hat in the ring. Yeah. Scotland usually they're just a weird team at the best of times, aren't they? Sometimes they'll be awesome, then other times they're wooden spoon contenders, and then same with France. They're so temperamental. Yeah. They could easily turn around and beat England and then go and lose to Italy.
Yeah, 100%.
Strange team.
It's probably as open as it ever has been at the moment for a number of different reasons, and obviously we're in the middle of that World Cup cycle as well, so there's lots of new caps being chucked around. So yeah, but England have named a really strong side for their opening fixtures, so let's see how it happens. Go on, your talking point. Your talking point.
Yeah, talking point or Jack's rant. So there's 2. We'll talk about Mike Dean first. Okay, Premiership referee. I don't know how. Somebody said to me the other day, he's ranked as one of the best referees in the Premiership. I'm like, how? I don't know.
Well, I think that he gets a bit. So my former Lodger cricket colleague Ross Dixon We just love him. We love him because I think he gets a bit of. I don't think he's any better or loads better or any worse than the others. I think he gets a lot of stick for the way he is, his mannerisms. He's a bit of. I'd call him a Hollywood ref. I remember having a lecturer at university called Ellis Cashmore, who actually has written some books on sports psychology and did the David Beckham degree at our university. And he was Hollywood because he came dressed as, he had silver hair, a little bit like George Clooney-esque, suit, really well dressed and thing. Nothing like a lecturer ever does, Usually they probably look worse than the students, don't they? And I think Mark Dean's a little bit like, goes into that Hollywood thing where he's like, he's got his mannerisms, he talks to people, he's definitely his own man, there's that arrogance about him. So he gets a bit of bad press on the back of that. But I genuinely think that half the time, when he referees matches, he's actually not too bad. I think he's all right. He's certainly better than one or two people. Albeit, I did see the one in the week, and it's probably not standing up. But I'm standing up for Mike Dean. Go on, Mike. You keep going. You keep flashing those yellow cards, pal.
Mike Dean, somebody needs to flash a P45 at him and get rid of him. Honestly, I wanted to talk about him a couple of weeks ago, but then the decision against Liverpool for the Burnley win, I thought if I say anything about Mike Dean now, everybody would be like, you're just a bitter Liverpool fan. So I thought, you know what, I'll sit on it for a while. And then that decision against Southampton is absolutely disgraceful. And his justification for it is even worse. So you talk about being Hollywood. I think you're right with that context. Hollywood, but for the wrong reasons. He wants to do something that makes him stand out. He wants to do something to go, this game, and these are the worst type of referees, this game's about me. It's not me. It's not about you. The best referees are the quiet ones that you don't have to talk about, get involved. So I'll go back to the Liverpool one, where Barnes goes through on the goalkeeper and he lifts it over Alisson. And he first tries to take a hit on Alisson's hands, but Alisson moves his hands really quickly out of the way. So he can't get that. So he's already in a falling motion. And then as he goes with his other leg over the top of Alisson, he drags his leg to kick Alisson's ribs and then goes over. He lost control of the ball. The ball was nowhere near. And he's gone twice to try and attempt to try and get a penalty. And Mike Dean has gone, here we go. This is my chance. Naming lights. Mike Dean gives a penalty that loses Liverpool their home record of 64 games without losing. This is my opportunity. Penalty. You're a joke. It was never a penalty, and Ashley Barnes looked for it. So I didn't say anything at the time. I'm like, I can't say anything, it'll be bitter. And then I watched the United game. Definite red card, early doors. The young lad has gone on with stupid tackle.
Oh, yeah.
Really high, not nice. Just over-enthusiasm, playing for the first time. He's just gone on with a stupid tackle on McTominay. The penalty, how Martial has never been booked. And what makes it worse is he goes back and watches it.
I know that's what I can't understand, actually, on this regard. So
the ruling is, if you attempt to play for the ball and you give away a penalty, it can be a yellow card.
Yeah.
You can't get sent off. If there's no attempt to play the ball, it's a red card. So Mike Dean has gone back and looked at it and gone, Martial's been tripped by an imaginary figure because nobody's touched him. And because Benyak has not touched, gone to attempt for the ball, he's fouled him because he claims he's touched the back of his legs. But you watch Martial, he's on his toes, dragging his body, waiting for an impact, which doesn't happen. Benyak stands hands up, legs together, leaning, backwards so that he doesn't touch him. So in Mike Dean's eyes, he's fouled him for the penalty because he's not even kicked out for the ball. It's a red card. Benyak, if he'd known that was happening, would have been better booting Martial across the legs and saying, I'm attempting for the ball and got given a yellow card. That is such a ridiculous. He could have two-footed him in the back of the head near the ball and gone, I was going for the ball, and would have got a yellow card. It's like the guy just picks out the strange decisions to make him stand out. So yes, United won 0, which is a great result for United. Awesome. Bad result for Southampton. But you know what? Mike Dean's not going down without a fight here. He wants his name in there. Mike Dean gave away 2 red cards on that day. He gave away a ridiculous penalty. Mike Dean gets a mention. That's what he's about. It's
been rescinded, but he won't get a ban, will he? He won't get suspended. It's been rescinded, that red card. But I take your point. But you're right. You just sound like a bit of Liverpool fan,
Well, that's why I didn't want to do it a couple of weeks ago. So I waited. I thought Mike Dean won't go 3 weeks without doing anything else, to get his name in the headline.
Of course, so Mike Dean, P45.
Yeah, Mike Dean, get your P45.
Red card for Mike Dean.
Yeah. The other one is that I mentioned to you is world-class strikers. I think they're gone. I don't think there is many number 9s out there anymore. The number 9, as we know it, is dead in the water. I don't think. Look at the Premiership. Where's a good number 9 in the Premiership?
Oh dear, look, he's just dangling the card. I don't know. I can't. No, look. I think there's two things to this. Firstly, I think the old style number 9. I don't know, the Mark Hatelys of this world. That kind of number 9. Definitely gone. Football's changed. That's why Andy Carroll is just a bench player. I know he's towards the end of his career, but that kind of number 9 has gone. That traditional target man, if you like. But I don't think you could say that there's no world-class number 9s in the Premiership or left in the world. You only got to look at Harry Kane, Lewandowski. They are number 9s. Yes, they drop off. Yes, they can come in from Lewandowski. Sometimes comes in from one of the wings, doesn't he? If it from space, Kane obviously drops off. But they're definitely number 9s. What about Aguero when he plays? Just because he's not tall, he's number 9. He doesn't drop off. He's a poacher. So I take your point that maybe the number 9 position has changed a little bit, or the traditional number 9 has gone, or what we perceived as we grew up. But I think you're wrong in saying there's no world-class number 9s left in the world.
I want to throw this out to you. Who was the leading goal scorer for the Premiership last year?
It's Vardy, wasn't it?
Vardy, and so that's one potential number 9 we're talking about there.
Yeah.
Was Kane second?
I don't think he was second. He was in the top 3 or 4 as usual, and he's won it, obviously.
3 or 4. So I think in the top 5, you probably got Vardy, Kane, Salah, Mane, Aubameyang.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got potentially 5 there. I don't think Aguero made the top 5. 3 of them are now played as wingers.
Yeah.
Current leading goal scorer in the Premiership, Salah, winger. I think he's 2 ahead of everybody else.
Kane second, I think.
Yeah, so you've got a winger again. You go back, I think the season before, it was shared between Salah, Mane, and Aubameyang, 3 wingers. So there's my argument, is that if Harry Kane's this world-class striker, will he not be leading goal scorer every season, or Aguero be leading goal scorer every season?
I think it's different.
Had a good season last year, and obviously, but lost out to Ronaldo and Messi in them things. And yes, Ronaldo's playing more of a centre forward role now, but he's a winger. So are the number 9 traditions gone as a centre forward, and all the goals come from people out wide?
I think that's certainly Liverpool is the way you play. But I've said to you before, and I say it again, and I think back to my little rant about Jose as well, is why we've got to change the mind to try and preserve Kane. Because I tell you now, if Harry Kane played for Liverpool last year, or when the Liverpool are playing well, forget about the 40 minute. If he played for Man City, he would play in any of those teams, and he would score 50 goals a season in all competitions, 100%. And that would be with him dropping off and as well as doing all the other things, because they would create more chances than Spurs do. I think that's the phenomenal thing about particularly this last 18 months under Mourinho. The amount of goals he scores, considering how many chances we create, is phenomenal. So if he's in a side that, like Liverpool at their best, Man City, I'd even go as far as to say something like Leicester, because they play the right way, he would score a lot more goals. So I still think it's there. I take your point. I think football's changed a little bit over the last few years, and he's outside forwards, whatever, or wingers. We've got one, Son. Harvey Barnes is doing something similar at Leicester this year, but don't let go. There's still hope for you yet as a number 9, Stu. There's still hope for you yet.
I'm not holding any hope. Right, we've been waffling on long and right. So fantasy football, we're just going to briefly touch this. What we've done is we've actually give Larks the week off in preparation for Baby Lark's appearance, which
paternity leave.
He's still waiting. We're still waiting on news from Larks. But we also decided that to keep it fair, we weren't going to talk anything fancy football because we're in the midst of the cup competition. So everybody's first legs finished last night. We'll be updating the scores and systems today. All I can say is I'm quite happy because I'm leading my first leg by about 4 or 5 points. How are you getting on, Jack?
Yeah, same. I'm leading double by about the same, I think, 8 or 9. So fingers crossed. I've had a good week.
Yeah, so guys, check your scores, check on your opponent, make sure if there's any adjustments to scores we need to know about.
I've got one already. Unsurprisingly, Shrek's messaged me going, the guy he's playing is -4 already.
Good lad, Shrek. That's what we like to hear. So I will dock them points off your opponent. But yeah, it's interesting and it brings a little bit life to potentially part of the season where if you're stuck in 60th position like I am, a little bit of excitement to the league. So good luck with everybody. Remember, your second leg will be this weekend, and then we'll play another 2 legs for the next 2 weeks, and then it goes into the Champions League style draw.
Cool. And what about, we've got weekly and monthly winners as well, haven't we, this week to announce?
Yes. So because we've gone across a couple of weeks with regards to since the last one, Chris Pye won last week's weekly winner. Andy Tran won this week, which finished last night, and then the monthly winner. So Cameron Knott, you won the monthly prize. So Cameron Knott has still got a weekly prize to claim and a monthly one. So that's a Raddy Red stay with discounts. Chris Pye lives in England, but frequents Dubai quite often. So I've no doubt he'll probably save his voucher for hopefully when flights are open and he'll be back over and seeing us.
Perfect. Excellent. Right. Bet done. Episode 40 done and dusted. Plans for today, Stu?
Going to the mall.
Oh, going to the mall. Wonderful. I think I'm going to stay in the apartment, but watch a bit of last one. I'm going to watch the cricket. I'm a bit of brekkie now and watch the cricket. England live from India. So it's not all bad. It's not all bad. But I think people need to get involved. Should Emma Hayes have taken the job? Should Mourinho be sacked? Is Stuart Booth the only world-class number 9 left in the world? Because what do we know, Stu?
That's it. What do we know? Peace out, guys.